Life always is as it is. It's very simple. The nature of life is to always be in movement and non-movement simultaneously. In the world of the apparent things, it's always changing from one thing to another, one thing to another. Everything is always changing. When the body looks one way, it's a whole different things. And then also when we drink or we eat or we watch things, there's always movement and change happening. The world of things is perpetual movement, which means there aren't any fixed things. There is always movement. And then the other side to that movement is non-movement. Isn't that crazy? In order for there to be movement, there has to be non-movement. There has to be stillness. In order for there to be light, there has to be dark. In order for there to be up, there has to be down. This stillness, though, is covered by the illusion of self. This non-movement, this non-existence is covered by this illusion of being somebody. The illusion of self thinks that this is really real and that somebody's having an experience. That somebody is in relationship with what's happening. And it's crazy because that energetic contraction of the illusion of self makes it feel like this is only moving, that this is only happening. And the non-happening is covered. This is really real. And this energetic contraction of self, that this is happening to someone, kind of feels like the back of things. It feels like something really real, me, this illusion of self, which is this body and these ideas and these belief systems and these actions. So something real is experiencing an external real world, and it's in relationship with a real world. And it makes it feel like there are two things happening. There is a subject and an object. There is somebody in relationship with things. Where really there is no thing happening. This is happening and not happening. But all the happening is made of the non-happening. All the things aren't actual things, they are appearances that aren't ultimately happening or separate. This is so hard to talk about. A lady left my talks at the weekend because she said I was too intellectual, too complicated. So this person that's in relationship with things feels real. It makes life feel like it's really happening and that it's divided, that it's separated into two. I am in relationship with the world. And as soon as this illusion of self has started, life always feels incomplete. It always feels like the person feels like it lost something. Because it did. As soon as identification started, there was a separation from everything. So it lost everything. So it always has a sense of discomfort. And its movement always is to try and find comfort in the world, in things. And it will always fail because there aren't things. There aren't ultimately things, and there isn't a somebody that could get these things. But it gets into this drama of trying to obtain things and believing that it will reach its goal, it will get to the gold at the end of the rainbow when it gets certain things, when certain things are in play. So it always thinks, I will get there when I get to these things. But this person that believes that it's going to get there never really exists, so it can never actually get there. It believes that it's the things, there's something wrong with the things, the money, the lover, the situations, the way that this is set up, that it's a cruel world, that it's not enlightened, that it can't do it correctly. But actually there's nothing there that could possibly get something. There's nobody there that could get something. This is fantastic. But it doesn't feel fantastic for that person that feels separate. There's nobody here. But that's impossible for the person to see, because to the person, it is real and the world is real. And that person cannot see that the world isn't real and that it's happening and not happening, that it is and it isn't. But the person can't see like that. The person sees in opposites. The person sees in this and that. So it has to be, life has to be in relationship with someone, something. And it has to be able to get there. But you can't pick up, you can't grasp as a person existence is and isn't. That's non-graspable for the person because it's not in time, and the person exists in time. The person exists in past and future, in, oh, what shall I do in the next moment? And objectifying and imagining. So it has to imagine existence as something and not something. It is and it isn't. It has to imagine that in its way of imagining, in subject-object. But it can't imagine that. It is that way. It is. There isn't anyone here in relationship with anything. It's happening and it's not happening. It's happening for no one, and yet it is. And this is a celebration, but not to the person that wants to get somewhere. And this message completely isn't for that person. I'm not trying to wake up a person. These ideas might be relaxing for that person. That person might calm down hearing this. It might freak the person out, but it's not on that level that we're speaking. This isn't the person hearing. The person can never hear a thing. The person's in movement. The person is something moving. And all things that move aren't real. They're happening and they're not happening, but there is no thing that's a permanent. All things are in flux. So there couldn't be someone that hears, because as soon as it goes into time, it's changing into something else. What would be that person that hears but an idea or an energy rising in every instance saying, I'm hearing, I'm listening. But there aren't any solid things. There's nothing which is solid. So nobody could get this. There's not anybody here or there that could get this and hear this. No, there's not a person that's ever heard anything in their whole entire life. People don't exist. There's nobody sitting here listening to Lisa. There's nobody speaking. There are forms appearing and not appearing. There is existence, which is and isn't. It's everything and nothing. And nobody hears that, and that's its joy, that's its freedom. And in these appearances, everything happens, all opposites: beauty, ugliness, heaven, hell, growth and destruction, but ultimately nothing is being destroyed or grown, because there aren't any separate things. There is one energy expressing itself, giving the appearance that it's moving into lots of things. But if you got out what's that thing called? You know, when you look down, when you look at things that are small and it makes them bigger. I've forgotten what that thing's called. If you keep looking at everything, you'll never find the edge to anything. It's all made of the same. Like a film, when you watch it projected on the screen or on the TV, it's all made of lights, giving the appearance that there is definition to the objects, but ultimately it's different shades of light. All made of light. Or a cartoon, all made of pixels. Microscope, it's called. Telescope, microscope, telescope. And people are writing to me and saying telescope, microscope. I think it would be a microscope, because telescope is, I think, when you look into the sky. Look at me all knowing suddenly. I'm the idiot, and then I turn to Noah. This is so wonderful. This isn't happening to someone. And what's being talked about is a complete energetical shift. It's totally not intellectual. This is an energetical shift from somebody being in the center here in relationship with life. It's the end of a relationship. And then it's total freedom. And life is as it is, in all its dynamics, in all its colors. It doesn't make life perfect. It doesn't make the person perfect. It is perfect because of its expression, not because of what it does. Its expression is perfect. The person could be all sorts of things. It could be having all sorts of delusions and ideas, but there's no longer this contraction which says, this is me. That the person is a filter in which life looks through. It's an experience, but it's not an experiencer. There is nothing which the experiencer, and then there is everything. So this is everything speaking. This is nothing speaking. This is existence speaking. It's not a person speaking. This is total love. And that existence doesn't belong more to Lisa than to John or Jean or Martin or Jesse. It doesn't belong to anything more. It is everything. But existence is playing a trick on itself, pretending that it's somebody else, that it's something else. It's gone full whack and really dreamt that it is something separate from everything. What's being talked about here is total freedom, but not for the person. And this isn't a cult, this isn't a religion, this isn't a dogma. This is existence speaking, but not through Lisa. I mean, it might seem that way, like it's through Lisa, but this has nothing to do with which the body that speaks of it. This is nothing to do with the body in which this message comes through. Lisa is a character. Lisa is interested in herself. Lisa is a character that's always moving towards pleasure. Lisa is not enlightened. So if you look to Lisa to be enlightened, you will be highly disappointed, because Lisa is just as self-centered as all the other human beings out there, totally interested in itself. But that is beautiful. Just like the flower grows towards the sun and tries to beat the other flower, same, the human tries its best to move towards its maximum amount of pleasure. Even if it's helping another person, it's still because that brings pleasure. So Lisa is not enlightened. Lisa is an animal, just like all other animals. It will look after its own survival, number one. So please do not godify the messenger. The messenger or existence is speaking very clearly now that this is nothing to do with her. It doesn't mean that there's not coming to these talks or listening to these talks and enjoying the message, but it's not Lisa. In no way should Lisa be glorified or worshipped in any way. And personally, I don't even know what that means, but what's coming out, it's disgusting when non-duality teachers glorify themselves and make them into some form of guru or religion. And I really mean that. It's totally speaking the opposite of what non-duality truly is. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't donate. It doesn't mean that you can't send Lisa gifts. Because if she didn't have time on her hands to speak about it, it wouldn't come through. But it's nothing to do with her. She is just as regular as every other human being and set up to move towards pleasure and be totally self-interested. But at the moment, this is the body in which existence is speaking this message through. And that's beautiful. Non-duality is beautiful, but it needs to be put really clearly that in no way is the body-mind mechanism of Lisa special. Because this belongs to everything. This is everything. It's just existence is playing in some body-mind mechanisms to have forgotten that. What's going to happen in those body-mind mechanisms is they want to feel free. They want to, they're set up to try and get to freedom. They're set up to look for home, but they're set up to never find it because they're always going to look in subject object, but they always have an attraction towards it. So what that body mind that separate self is going to want to do, sorry, not body mind mechanism, what the separate self is going to do is it's going to try to make non-duality into a religion which it can get to, and it's going to try to find methods and paths to try and get to non-duality. And it never will, because that game is only in subject object. That game is only ever for a person that's trying to get pleasure. So what it does is it often wants the teacher to act like a guru. It wants the teacher to say, follow me, I have the path for you, and I can lead you to eternal happiness. I can lead you to bliss, or I can lead you to oneness. And that's a total lie. Nobody can lead anybody to oneness because there is nobody. It's bullshit. It's created by a separate self that wants to be the top monkey, that wants to be the top dog. It wants to sit on top of its statue and have people following it. And then it puts the message as if that's non-duality. This is the way to non-duality. Follow me. And if you have any resistance to it, that is your ego. And that is ego defiance. And that is you fighting against non-duality. And that's got nothing to do with non-duality. Non-duality is, and no one can give it to you. You can buy it off no one. You can get it in, you can't get it in any one place. You can't run to, say, where is it that Ramana used to live? Arunachala, it won't be more there. It won't be more there if you're around a particular guru. It won't be more there if you give that guru your house and your money, although I'm always open to these offers. But it won't, nothing, it won't, you won't be able to get it in any place. None of that will get you closer to God. You closer to oneness, because the you never existed, and the you is not the person hearing non-duality, and the you can't even deconstruct itself. If that collapse is going to happen, it will happen. And it's got nothing to do with the appearance of you. There is no continuous you. There isn't a continuous person. That person isn't what's listening now. That person isn't what's looking. Everything is listening, everything is looking. There is simply what is. But this message will be unpopular because there's no monkey at the front saying, follow me. And humans are set up to follow. And they're set up to work towards something. And if they don't have that dream, it's confusing for them. What do you mean I can't get there? I'm the center of the world. What do you mean you can't lead me there? And the whole time they're missing the song of this. Everywhere that person, that believed person goes is this, total freedom. And they're not even missing it. It's not even they miss it, because there isn't anything there that could possibly see it. There is a filter, which is an energetic contraction saying, I'm in here, I'm experiencing life. Monkey.